All right, well, it looks like YouTube is officially up and streaming. So many buttons to push. Good thing I'm good at pushing buttons. All right. Can you guys see the slides on Zoom?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. I got a thumbs
Yes,
up.
I can.
Good deal. All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming in. Sorry, I was kind of running. Apparently, when we rescheduled to 7, my brain hadn't processed that, and so I'm always like, "Oh, I got plenty of time," and then I'm running over from school. So, thank you everybody for coming. Today is March 19th, and we're at our monthly membership meeting for BSAS. I'm Tom Beckerman, the current president of BSAS, and so today we're going to go through a few things. The way we traditionally host our meetings is we have some club business that we'll go through, and then we'll have a speaker. Today, Theo is our planned speaker. So if you were coming to see Theo, I apologize. She can't make it tonight. So after I go through the club business, we'll probably take a few minutes so I can pull up her slides, and then I'll go walk through her What's Up and Messier Marathon prep, which we're going to be talking about for this upcoming I guess a couple weekends from now, so 2 weekends from now. So once again, thank you for coming today. We had some cool things happen over the last couple weeks. One of which was the lunar eclipse. This was an image that I took about 2:30 in the morning. It was the first time I'd actually seen the blood moon actually hit. Like I think the last time I had an opportunity, clouds hit just magically right in time, and so I didn't actually get to see the red color. And so I was pretty excited when I saw that. Also today we're gonna be discussing the Messier Marathon, which is something that we try and hold every year. I say try because weather tends to get in the way sometimes. But Charles Messier, he's a comet hunter, and we all get together on during March to kind of take a look at about 110 things that are verified not to be comets. And so it's a kind of a cool marathon that we'll talk about a little bit later. All right. Oh yeah. If you Google Messier Marathon, you can find all sorts of tons of fun things. My catalog rules deal with it. He is one of the many catalogs out there. He notoriously did miss a few fairly important things up in the sky, but he did nail some really, really cool tiny things as well. So more props to him. All right. So we'll go ahead and call everything to order today. Hopefully everybody had a second to go through the minutes during from the Eclipse newsletter. Does anybody have any questions on the ongoings of the board or anything that's happened since we had our last meeting? Awesome. All right. Keith, how we doing membership wise?
231 members, about to be 232.
Awesome. Good deal. So 232, slowly growing. Let's see. Did anybody catch, Bud? Do you have the numbers from the treasurer's report from Theo from our board meeting?
Oh, let's see if I got it there. Nope. I relied on
The email.
Out and I did not believe it.
All right, just a second. I will find it. No, it's riveting. right.
$9,000.
There it is. Found it. Hang on, it's got to download. All right, for treasurer's report, our total bank balance is 9,346.06. We have 3,875.41 in savings with Italics in there, and then that means we got 5,740 in checking. Expenses since last member meeting, we paid for food, drinks, and stuff for the dinner from December. So like these are still kind of on our tabs. We paid for the Zoom account, NatChess Trace permit. Also, we just signed up for a storage unit for our loaner equipment. So the goal is that we don't have to use the storage unit because hopefully everything is out amongst you guys. But it's good to have it there for storage for things that kind of hang out for us with us for a little bit longer. PayPal is at 0 right now, so Theo transferred over some money. And then on social media, we can chat about that here in a minute. So those are the numbers of where we're at right now. All right, let me pull back to mine. All right, here we go. All right, so as far as upcoming business, our next member meeting, that should say April 16th. That's kind of April Fool's joke, right? April 16th of next month is our next meeting. It'll be here at Dyer. We'll again stream live on Zoom for meeting members and then YouTube for the traditional public. I still don't necessarily have a speaker pinned down, but we will for that. So it's kind of a surprise, like a to be announced kind of thing. It may just be me, so don't get your hopes up. But if you have any speaker recommendations, feel free to reach out and let us know. We're always interested in new places to look at the stars as well. So if you have any interesting places that you'd like to maybe look at some stars, let us know. We have another place that's hopefully coming online for some pop-up star parties over this next couple of months. And so be prepared to see some of those messages coming through, especially on the Google group. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Special thanks to all the board members for helping keeping everything afloat. A handful of everybody's here. Keith's here, Bud's here, Steve's here. Theo can't make it. Let's see. I didn't get a chance to see anybody else who's really here yet, but thank you everybody for making it in and helping out with everything. For those of you that are visiting or it's your first time to a meeting, you signed up, so on and so forth, or you're friends of another person that's a member, this is where you can find us online, bsasnashville.com. And there's a treasure trove of information on here. And I've started kind of highlighting things because I'm always amazed at all the stuff, like the resources that are available for us on here. You can see that we have our next public star party, so you can find information on where and when this is going to be. Usually our speaker update will be, our next member meeting will be listed as well. And you can see there's a picture of Theo for tonight. We also have down at the bottom this Nashville Clear Sky chart, which I absolutely love. I'll show you a bigger picture of that in a minute. But we also still have some of these cool Hatch Show prints available. They're $20 in hand or $25 if you would like Theo to mail them to you. If you click on that link right there, it'll take you to a PayPal where you can order it. If you do order something on through here, you'll notice that we have PayPal set up for the Hatch Show prints. We also have PayPal set up for membership. If you do sign up for PayPal, please include your name and whatever you go off of, because sometimes all we get is an email, and starlover@gmail.com doesn't tell us who you are and how we can get stuff to you. So make sure that all the information is put in there to help us out. The clear sky chart down at the bottom of the page is always convenient. The wider it is, the brighter it is, which kind of goes against our desire to see dark sky things. So it's always good to kind of take a peek at it before you go out to see if it's worth lugging out your 12-inch Dob or 8-inch Dob or 10-inch Dob or however big you're lugging around these days. But so the darker the better. So it looks like Saturday night might not be too bad to get out there. All right. Also on the page, we have a host of other things listed on here, like how to become a member. So if you're not a member and you're interested, you can click on that link. FYI, this QR code will take you to our website. But when you click on that link, it'll take you to this where it shows you membership benefits. We have the Eclipse newsletter. We get discounts to astronomy and sky and telescope magazines, as well as membership to the Astronomical League and their printout that they send out. And then, of course, you get a vote on BSAS elections. So if you're sitting here going, we could do better, vote, right? You have a chance for voting. But also we have private star parties that we host. We have access to some sites that are a little bit darker than here in Nashville. And so they're a little bit of ways, but sometimes you got to travel for that. As far as memberships, you see here's the total tally. Individual memberships 25, families pretty good deal for 35, students for 15, and then senior families for 20. So this is per year, so it's not much at all, especially for getting out and about and getting access to some of these things. One of the perks of the group being a member as well is that we have loaner equipment available for you to use, and it's of no cost because you're a member. So if you're interested in a telescope and you want to see if you'd actually use a telescope, feel free to check out the list, which is accessible here and on Google Groups, and see if there's one that you're interested in. Because the best telescope there is the one you use. Now, a lot of times these big ones seem amazing because you go, I can see Pluto from here. However, lugging this around might not be the best option, right? So if you know that you're not going to be lugging this guy around, then you probably don't want to buy a big Dob, right? And so feel free to take a look. We've got a couple Dobs that are available for usage. We've got some Newtonians, a couple SCTs available too. So we have a wide variety of telescopes available. If you do already have a scope, feel free to keep in touch. Let us know how it's going. Let us know what you're seeing, if you're having problems with it. If you have any questions about it, there's a lot of really good information in the group that can help out with setting up telescopes, showing how to collimate things. If you don't know what collimation is, that's one of the reasons to reach touch with us. So if you're looking through a telescope going, this is miserable, this I don't know why people do this, then reach out because there's probably an issue with some focus or collimation issues that we can maybe help with. Also, we have public star parties as well as private star parties. If you are borrowing a scope, we'd love to see you at these public star parties as well. I'm not saying it's a mandatory thing, but it's always fun getting out and sharing the night sky with the public as we go through and look at these things. As mentioned earlier, we have the Eclipse newsletter, and you can click on this link here and it'll take you to this page here where I didn't update it today. But here's everything from 2024. And so these are digital PDFs that we have. And every time I see this, I'm always amazed that we go all the way back to 2020 or 2001, I guess. So there's a pretty good repository of information, especially if you like to look back at the greatest hits from 25 years ago, I guess now. So it seems to be a ways. We're also a little bit active on social media. We have a discussion forum built for our members through the Google groups. We're also on the more popular socials. Facebook, we just hit 2.4 thousand likes. We were at 2.3, and so that's current as of today. So awesome on that. We're at 2.6 thousand followers. Here you can see that we post a host of things, but here is a list of what we're going to be doing today. So this was our plan for today's meeting. So if you're wanting when's the next meeting kind of information, you can follow us on Facebook, and hopefully that alert will get to you. Here's Instagram. As we start getting more and more pictures coming through, they'll get posted here, but also you can see we have star parties being posted, monthly meeting information being posted. I pulled this one out because this is a new star party that we're hoping to put together down in Wartrace. It was previously scheduled and it got rained out, and so this is the new time and date. So if you're down towards the Wartrace area, they're looking forward to having us help host a public star party down in that direction. So it's a cool thing that we're trying to put together. As far as Google Groups goes, there's a lot of cool things that are going on. People post pictures, upcoming events, people ask questions, people post about upcoming outreach possibilities. Here's an image from Steve of the Helix Nebula taken at one of the pop-up star parties, Steve.
Actually, no, that was actually up in the whole.
So just hanging out, being on your own. Yeah. So this is Steve shot. That's Steve back there. Does some fantastic work. This is another image of Steve's that he posted on the Google group. So Star Party. Star Party. Yeah, I knew it was one of them. So we have a lot of really talented people coming through here. Steve posts a lot of things, and so a lot of people post in the Google groups. So if you're not a member of the Google groups, it's a good place to be. Also in there, Ron has posted his yearly blurb about the Messier Marathon. Ron is one of the members of BSAS, and he kindly hosts at his house, which is not too far from our Dark Sky site off of the Natchez Trace. So that area is the kind of the darkest place we have access to, and Ron is willing and nice enough to host us with he's got a kind of like a garage shed area that's got a bathroom, it's got a heater, it's got electricity, all the important things and creature comforts that help make a marathon last. And if you don't know what a Messier Marathon is, there's 110 objects in this catalog, and a couple times out of the year, or usually a couple weekends out of the year in March-ish, you can maybe get all 110 of them as they cross the sky. But you got to start early, so right after the sun sets, and you got to hang out until the last one comes up, pushing sunrise. So it's an all-night adventure. So hence the marathon. This is not Ron, but this is again Messier, Charles Messier. A lot of people put together these images like M1, M2, M3, kind of looking like a periodic table. So fun things of interest. The images that Steve had, neither of them are Messier objects. So you will not find those on the list, but there are a variety of things, galaxies, nebulas, clusters, and all sorts of fun things like that. If you're interested in joining Google Groups and you're not in Google Groups, or you're a member and have not been, and you do not have access to it, email us here, info@bsasnashville.com. And one of us will get you added into the group. Me, Keith, I think that we're the ones that kind of have the reins of that right now. But it's a really good place for communication and staying in touch and sharing some of the stuff we do, including which other lunar eclipse images. Bobby and Sheldon, are you guys here? No. This image is from Bobby. It's kind of his collage or menagerie of this. And then Sheldon's image here. Really cool stuff, right? So it was an awesome event. And just know that this happened at 2:30 in the morning, right? So other people besides me lost sleep that night. So really cool things. Oh, there we go. Next slide. All right. Now, in addition to things that we post on our website and through Night Sky Network, a lot of things get posted through Google Groups that aren't on our official calendar. And a lot of these things are events put on by members of ours. Steve runs a lot of pop-up star parties down towards Franklin. And so he commonly posts about those. You see Chuck's name on here a couple times. He was kind of the ringleader on the star party they had out at Montgomery Bell, where he did solar and star viewing out that way. It seemed to be pretty successful. He also kind of helped with the STEAM night out at Stuart Burns Elementary in early March. And you also notice that he's signed up for another STEAM night at Stoner Creek Elementary on April 24th in Mount Juliet. So if you want to help Steve with this, or not Steve, Chuck, sorry, with this, I'm sure he'd be glad to have you.
Those are interesting.
Yeah, that's good. All right, we've got a word of mouth that these are fun. Oh, wow. Well, then Chuck could definitely use some help.
I couldn't hear it. Was that Tony back there?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I figured it was him. Thank you, Tony. He helped me a whole lot at this last one.
You don't have to say that. He can't see you. All right. Well, first of all, thanks, Chuck, for doing all these things. You do a ton of stuff for the club, and I just wanted to make note of that. Also posted on the groups, Randy has posted about 2 events out at Henry Horton Park and Cedars of Lebanon. I believe that the 18th is Henry Horton, the 19th is Lebanon's Cedars of Lebanon, and then the 25th again is Henry Horton, the 26th is Cedars of Lebanon. And so he's gonna that's flipped.
Yeah, like the 18th will be Henry Norton, the 19th will be Cedars, and the 25th is Cedars, and the 26th is Henry Norton.
Gotcha. If you would like more information, it's on the Google Groups. But that's on there as well. So if you're familiar with those areas, or you would like to help out with some of the star parties out there, take a look at that posting. And then again, Steve has been helping out with the War Trace Star Party, and you'll find a post on the Google Groups about that as well. So basically, you get access to a few more things if you're a part of the Google Groups. So if you're not a part of the Google Groups, it's where all the cool kids are hanging out. Any questions on that so far? Awesome. Yeah, we've got a lot of good stuff going on. We run our club through the Night Sky Network, including membership and things like that. So if you're wanting to become a member, we ask you to go through and sign up with the Night Sky Network, because this is how we control our rosters on here. This is also how I send out emails about the next upcoming meeting that usually should come out days before instead of the night before the meeting. But this is how we contact people. There's also a calendar on here of public events. And I think that we may have private events potentially starting to show up for members only. So you'd be able to get access to that if you signed in. But it's a really good repository for information. And I've been doing this ever since I've been kind of running the show, is diving into the Night Sky Network, looking at all the cool articles they have. So today's article that they had posted for the month, I guess, is talking about the equinox. So embracing the equinox. And here you see we're in March, here's September. So equinox, equal night is essentially what it means. So you get equal night, both northern and southern hemisphere. In there, they had this cool picture taken by one of the geo satellites. And so you can see, nice split sun versus night. And then in that article, they also had in here that the equinox is March 20th. And I went, wait a minute, what's today? And I went, oh, it's 19th. So if you're awake at 4:01 Central, you can celebrate the spring equinox, right? But so it seems very specific, which seems to be pretty accurate. So what that means is tomorrow spring's here, and that the 21st will be the first full day of spring. So both good and bad. Weather starts to get a little bit more tolerable, but we lose a little bit of night sky. So that again goes with the time change as well, where it's nice to have some extra daylight, but man, I miss being able to throw my scope out right after I get home, and it's kind of already being dark. So so for those interested, spring starts tomorrow. All right. A couple other things on the Night Sky Network. This is another article that they had, March's Night Sky Notes, the Messier Madness. And so it's not just us promoting this, but a lot of people do. On there, in that article, they had some cool things to point out. Planning ahead, do you have enough layers to be outdoors for several hours? Because if you don't have a kind, gracious host like Ron, you're sitting out at our Water Valley Overlook site, bearing the cold. And so make sure you're dressed appropriately, make sure your batteries are fully charged if you use electronics. If you can plan ahead, it'll help out quite a bit. I tell my students this for labs. Plan ahead for the lab so that when you get to the lab, you're not all confused trying to figure out what experiments you're going to do today. So if you can plan ahead and get an idea of how bright these things are supposed to be, where they're at in the sky, which order you want to target these things in, it'll help out quite a bit and help with the enjoyment of this marathon that we'll talk about in a little bit. And then finally, down here says, when choosing a location, connect with your local astronomy club. And this is just a simple plug to, hey, if you're interested, we have a Messier marathon going on in a couple weekends. All right. So again, if you're interested in that, get in touch with us or check out the Google groups for more information on that. Diving into Night Sky Network just for a little bit more things, they have a lot of outreach activities and things that you can look at and see what's up in the sky and whether it's, some cool things to look at and look for. For the outreach research sources, they had this article up here, Weird Ways to Observe the Moon, including in which polarized sunglasses to help knock down some of the extra light coming off of there to kind of enhance some of the images. I'd never seen that. Also, creative ways to use a plastic bottle cap and solar funnels. So they have somebody projecting moon on a sun funnel, which got famous for the eclipse, shining an eclipse through there. So fun things, right? So instead of cursing the moon, we can find different ways of looking at the moon. So a lot of cool articles on there. They also have what the current moon state is, so you can see how bright the moon is at any given point in time. This was probably about an hour ago when I took this screenshot. And then they also have clear sky charts, sky maps, spot the station. I started highlighting these last time. Here's your clear sky chart for today. And so the darker, the better. We are somewhere in here, right? So all that data, those little blocks and bricks actually come from somewhere. So this is where it comes from. On the sky maps, they put these up for free. This is one from November. I didn't click on it to get the current one. But you can see that there's a bunch of information in here, and they also have a bunch of information on the back where you can get naked eye objects, binocular objects, telescope objects. And so if you're looking at potentially going to a star party and want to help with outreach, and you're like, I just don't know what to talk about, well, there's a bunch of things on these star charts that they put out monthly that, give ideas of what's up in the sky. And so you can choose a favorite thing and just keep your scope on it and talk about it, right? And so it helps with further enjoying things. And then my favorite thing that I found recently is the Spot the Station website. And I've been familiar with the Spot the Station website for years now, but for the longest time, you had to go through and renew your email address and your text message every year, or else you just fall off their list and you'd stop getting alerts. And I stopped getting alerts long ago enough that I don't remember when I stopped getting alerts. And so for me, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot to sign up. And then when I clicked on here last month, I noticed that they have an app. And with that app, you can set up notifications. And so that made me very happy because now I don't need to sign up for emails or text messages. In fact, well, I didn't show up. There is let's see, hang on a second. It is. There's this. This is our next upcoming one. So this is from the app itself, where it didn't alert on my official, but when I logged in, it's going to show up on the 24th at 8:30. It's going to be relatively low on the horizon. And you can have it set up for notifications that I only want transits that are longer than 2 minutes. And I only want transits that are going to get higher than 15 degrees or higher than 30 degrees. And so if you're like, yeah, I don't even have Verizon that's going to let me see 11 degrees, you can shut those alerts off, which is one of what these is. The reason I put it on here is because apparently it's going to start showing up more and more frequently towards the end of the month. And so I think I saw that on the 26th, there's a 3-minute pass that's going to, I think, get at 17 degrees or something like that. So it would have triggered on my alert. So it's a really cool app that I just found. It's free, which is even better. So if you're interested in that, that's available. All right, little goodies. I'm always finding stuff. All right. As far as previous events and outreach, last time I saw you was the 19th of February. And so since then, we had a private star party out at the Natchez Trace. It was fairly well attended. I was there. I saw Tony there. I think I saw a few others out there. Wasn't too warm, but the skies actually were pretty good that night. So it was nice. I was out there till about 4 in the. And then on March 1st, we had a public star party out at Bell's Bend. I think that was fairly well attended. Is anybody here? Yeah. Yeah, pretty good. Very. Yeah, awesome. That's always what we like to hear. And then On March 14th, Chuck had the public star party out at Montgomery Bell, and it sounds like he had about 20 people come out and look at the sun and the stars in total. And so it was pretty good to get out there and share the sky. So again, thanks, Chuck, for that. Upcoming events, we're still hosting a prize for the Middle Tennessee Science and Engineering Foundation. That's coming up on Friday. And so if you've signed up to help judge with that, make sure you pay attention to the emails. I was talking to Dr. Murphy today, and it sounds like they're really excited about all the science projects that they have going on today or going on this year. On the 28th and 29th, this is when our private star party officially is. The official actual date that we're hosting is the 29th, which is a Saturday night. But notice that the 28th is listed. The 28th is our just in case it rains on the 29th date. So we figured out if we schedule our makeup date before, we can kind of trick the rain gods, hopefully. Right? Can't make any guarantees, but so those are the two dates. And again, one of our members is hosting, and so the information on where that is and stuff like that is on Google Groups. I don't want to give all that out right now because we are streaming live on YouTube. So I'm sure he wouldn't like us to blast his address all over the internet. Yep.
Just real quick, to be clear, so Ron actually have both those nights available?
Correct.
He says we both.
Yeah, so if you're going to come out the 28th, I would just make sure because, I don't know what the official word is on when we would officially push to the 28th, but he said he's willing to host both nights. So I'll get some clarification on that and send out a message. Yeah.
Hey, yeah, this is Ron. I think it's probably a lot more achievable if you tried to get the entire Messier catalog in 2 nights instead of 1, if we had good weather both nights.
That is accurate. Maybe do half a night one night, half night the next morning. Yeah. So Ron is willing to host both nights. So thank you again, Ron. I really appreciate it. All right. That was the voice of Ron. I can see him on my camera here. You guys can't see him up there. So all right. Upcoming further after the Messier marathons, we also have a private star party posted for the 29th, which is also the night of the Messier marathon. So just to give you an idea, Ron's pretty close to that area. So it's just about 2 miles off the Natchez Trace. So, but that's listed on our private pages. Our next public star party is out at Bowie Nature Park from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. And notice we're getting later sunsets. And so that means that we're going to be starting these things a little bit later in the evening. And then finally, on the list of just activities that we have, on April 12th is the Nashville Outdoor Recreation Festival. And it's held annually at Bell's Bend. And I know Theo goes out there, Chuck goes out there. Steve, do you go out to those? No. Yeah, I think I went out there last year, and it's a really cool event. They have a bunch of booths set up, and I know Chuck and Theo have set up scopes and solar scopes out there to look at the sun and basically talk cool astronomy stuff to people coming out just for people essentially that enjoy being outdoors. It kind of caters to a lot of the hiking and canoeing and kayaking, things like that. So it's a really fun event. All right. And then after that, I think our next meeting is April 16th. So that kind of gets us to where we're at here. So the next member meeting will be here, also simulcast on Zoom and YouTube, as long as I remember to hit a button. And in theory, as long as we don't get any weird storms, we will be here. So that's what I got as far as our official business meeting for today. Does anybody have any questions or anything they want to bring up in terms of unofficial business or just random questions?
Tom, this is Chuck.
Hi, Chuck.
Excuse me. I wanted to give an invitation on April 6th. I'm going to be doing a presentation at the Skirmerhorn Nashville Symphony. They're going to be doing a presentation called a performance called Orchestra in Space. And they invite me to bring my exhibit. I've done the Skirmerhorn in the past, bring it out. And I just wanted to find out if there was anybody at BSAS that would want to do a BSAS table. I understand Dyer Observatory is going to have a table out there, but if somebody else wanted to come out with a little BSAS stuff, I could probably do that.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. I think I saw you post that on the Google groups as well, and I had it
Yeah.
off on a tab, and I didn't put it in. But yeah, thank you for that, Chuck. I'll get in touch with the people around and see if we can get something together. What day is that?
Sunday, April 6th.
And what time is it? Do you know?
It's the exhibit would be from 1:30 to 3. The performance starts at 3 o'clock, and then the exhibit would be available to the guests as they're leaving from the symphony.
Gotcha.
And we do get free tickets to the symphony. You do get to see the performance.
Awesome. Well, good deal. Well, thanks for that, Chuck. And you can, I think I did see that post on Google Groups. So if you're interested in helping out with that, or helping BSAS run a table or booth, probably just comment under his post, and we'll see if we can get together if there's enough interest. Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks, Chuck. Appreciate that. Any other business before we transition? All right, good deal. Well, thank you, everybody. So as I mentioned, Theo wasn't able to make it today, but she did send me her slides. And so I have to go through and download them and then look over them briefly so I know what to talk about. So if you wanted to take a minute or two or 3 or 5 to go get a drink of water as I download this and review, feel free to come back here in a few minutes. Those following on Zoom, I'm going to go ahead and mute myself. And so if you hear me start talking again, that means that we are starting back up.
Hello, this is Chuck. Are we still online?
Yeah, we're just waiting for him to come back.
Okay. Thanks.
Hmm.
I got a blue feathered something. I don't know what that is.
It is a black heron that is canopy feeding, apparently.
A black heron.
Or Tony's college day weekends.
That's what his hair used to look like.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right. It's trying to open Theo's presentation. Ideally. Oh, there we go. Why didn't it show that one? So for some reason, it's not letting me download the actual presentation, but it's letting me view it on Dropbox.com. So I will, and whenever I hit present, it only presents through Chrome. That's fun. All right, so that means I can do this potentially. All right. However, it's gonna be fun because I don't have a speaker view, so I have no idea what's coming up. All right, hang on a second. Chuck, can you see the presentation?
Yeah, I got Messier Marathon race around the sky.
Perfect. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start up here. One of the cool things about picking up other people's slide decks is that I have no idea what she was wanting to say about things, so you get my take on the stuff that she's put together. So it's always fun. So welcome again to tonight's adventure. There's a few slides in here. Whatever she's talking about, if you have more to add to it, some of you seasoned veterans, feel free to bring it up. But I've got a decent idea of everything she's talking about. So the Messier Marathon, as I mentioned before, is a challenge that was kind of built in the mid 80s around 110 objects that a famous comet hunter essentially came through and said weren't comets. And we'll talk a little bit about the history of that, but about once a year, we perfectly get the alignment of Earth amongst the celestial heavens where you can see all 110 go sort of across the sky if the skies are good enough and you have good enough horizons. The interesting thing, French, and so the majority of the 110 you're only going to see from the northern hemisphere. You can see a few of them from the southern, like I think you can see Orion, right? Some of the more southern ones you can see down there, but a lot of them are the northern hemisphere objects. All right. So here across the sky, you can see a little sky map. These are really helpful for finding objects that are up there. However, this can be a little confusing sometimes, especially if you're looking at one of these star maps for the first time. Here you can see the Milky Way coming across, but these star maps are helpful. You can see that they have a variety of information in here. Here she's pointing out the Crab Nebula. It's a M1 actually, and it gives a little bit of detail here. Still expanding cloud from a supernova explosion in 1054 AD, so a while back. It's one of my favorite things. This tiny little guy. Here you can see also the Pleiades. And as you're looking at these charts, if you're not sure what you're looking at, like there's a lot of information here to kind of sift through. But what Charles Messier did is he had his kind of views of the skies, and he had places where he'd look for these comets. And he actually was fairly decent at comet hunting. These are the ones that he's been credited with. I think I saw that there's 10, maybe. I think I saw 17 earlier for some reason. I haven't counted, but Messier or people that work for Messier or his assistant, Michel, was pretty good with this. And what he was doing, he was looking through the sky, looking at comets, and he's always come across these fuzzy things in the sky that he was like, I'm not sure that's a comet or not, because if you've seen a comet through a scope and they're not the brightest thing in the world, they just look fuzzy, as well as a lot of things through scopes look gray and fuzzy. And so he started charting these things down so that he could find his comets a little bit easier. And so I saw that Theo put in a few things in here. The first list was 45 objects. In 1780, expanded out to 80 objects. And his final list had 103. But since then, his assistants and people have added 7 others and brought us up to about 110. There were some mistakes, and she has that in here as well. Of the original list of 45, 17 were his discoveries. So not a horrible amount, right? But he just started cataloging all these things together. By the time he finished, there were other catalogs being published. So the Herschel catalog, it's got I think it's 400, if I remember right, 400 items in the Herschel catalog. Herschel also had a bigger telescope, which is kind of unfair compared to what Messier was running with. Yeah. Now, what's interesting about the Messier catalog is that there isn't really a rhyme or reason to the numbers on this. The Messier catalog, not organized position, but it includes galaxies, clusters, nebula, and so it seems like a random smattering of numbers going across the sky. There were some errors that I mentioned. M24, he said it was a cluster, but it's actually star cloud. M40 is a double star. M47 and M48 have these other categorizations in here. M73, small group of 4 stars. So not really like, I'm pretty sure you could see 4 stars and go, that's probably not a comet. But who knows why it was included. And then M102, either a duplicate listing of M101 or another kind of smaller galaxy. And so without talking to the people that put the catalog together, we just kind of take their word for it and go, it's a 110 item adventure. As far as the history of the thing goes, late in the 1970s, this thing started taking form. Several individuals at about the same time, this group of 3 here, kind of started trying to get all 110 of these things over one night. And what that does is requires a lot of planning, especially before you had go-to scopes, knowing where to look, where to point, which fuzzy thing are you after. And then the first kind of noted one was in Arizona in 1985, March 23rd to 24th, got all 110. And so they went, okay, we can potentially do this, right? But if you've been to Arizona, probably have some better skies than maybe what you're going to be able to see here. This was the scope, right? So that's you know, obviously things have gotten a little bit more advanced since then. If you're using a scope like that, or you have a Dob, or you have a set of binoculars, it's important to find, you know, essentially landmarks in the sky, signpost stars, right? So a couple of the fairly brighter ones, Arcturus Spica, Antares Vega, Sirius is really, I use that a lot. Polaris is your typical pole star. It's going to be pointing north. So these are really good things that are going to get you acquainted and oriented in the sky. And so if you're looking in a star map or in one of these books that I can pull out, it'll kind of give you an idea of, right, all right, it's this star. And if you can hop over here and then hop here and then hop here, it's going to be right in the middle of this area. Yeah.
And you use one scope with say 5 people, or you got that 5 scopes.
What do you mean?
You found that.
Well, I don't know. I guess it's however you feel like you can go through. If you have go-tos, I mean, you can have one set to go to M1 and then next one go to M2, and then you just pop in between, I guess. I don't know.
You have go to with the laser, then everybody has to go straight to it.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, it's all, yeah. Yeah. So having knowledge of this, what's that? So that's why it's important to kind of get an idea of the sky. Also the constellations. And I'll tell you what, I've gone through, I think the most I've ever got was 20, 23, just kind of messing around with binoculars and a telescope. But start to learn the sky really well, because you're like, what am I looking at? And then you're starting to trying to find these patterns. And if you're in a really good dark sky site, it's great to be dark sky, but man, it's hard to find constellations and pull them out. Yeah.
You can probably see with your AO observing programs there.
Yep.
And get that as you're doing this.
Yep. Guess what? I saw that in our slide deck. So that's upcoming. But yeah, the Astronomical League has observing programs, and a lot of them are centered around. Yeah. The certificates are amazing. Now, in the modern era of go-to scopes, you can do this, right? Where you can plug in. Yeah. Good deal. Also, probably close the observatory. If you didn't hear that, a storm's about to come through. So if you need to close your windows, you might want to check on those. So if you're looking at, if you're an imager like I am, and you want to see a little bit more than soft fuzzies, scopes these days can do a lot of really good stuff. I have a little electronic one that I was gonna try and program these into, so I can just plug it and go and hit start, and it'll and do that thing. But if you're really good with collecting light, you can get some really cool images. Like this is M1, this is Orion. There's a lot of really cool things to see beyond just some fuzzy things. People like to put together these periodic tables of objects, and to me, this is very appealing since I'm a science person as well. And so this is listed by what they are. So you have some nebula and a variety of different components on here. But if you go through online and just search for Messier objects or table of Messier objects, man, it comes up with a ton of these things. So it's kind of like one of those bucket list things, like got to catch them all, kind of like the Pokemon of the astronomical world. As mentioned, there are observing programs for many things in the night sky. One of which is to catch the Messier objects. To get the certificate from the Astronomical League, you need to visually observe 70 and keep a record of them. So not 110, but if you can get 70, you could probably be good to go. Things to record: date of observation, time of observation, how well you could see, how big of a scope you used, was there power, what was the power of the scope, sorry, and a short description of it, like, hey, it was round and fuzzy, oval fuzzy, maybe a little bit more details on that. But have your notebook and record examined by an officer, so you can't just write stuff down and send it in saying, yay, yeah.
You could sketch them, you start building, as you go through it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I can't draw stick figures. Just got to draw dots. Yeah, yeah. So what we were saying is a lot of these, we'll see it here in a minute, but a lot of these logbooks and stuff that are built for the Messier Marathon have little circles there that are built in, so you can actually draw the star field and draw what you see. So you can kind of have a record of it in your mind, especially if you don't take pictures. All right. And then once you got that done, send it in to the Astronomical League, and they'll potentially send you a certificate and a pin. Now, a lot of these objects aren't necessarily the biggest in the world, but some of them are really, really good size. A couple of them you can see almost naked eye, like you can sort of make out, like I can sort of make out the nebulosity in Orion naked eye if I'm sort of darkish skyish, but it's big enough that I can see the bright part. You know, I could tell that there's something there. Binoculars help that come out. Do you have a question?
I think they've got a binocular with you also.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, so a lot of these are relatively small, and so with binoculars, it's going to be hard to pick out the really, really small ones, I'd imagine. Like to me, I think the Crab Nebula would be really hard to see out of binocs, just because of how small it is. But things that did make the Messier Marathon and are fairly easy to find, like the Pleiades and the Orion Nebula. I don't know how good of binoculars you need to actually see the nebulosity around the Pleiades, but you're probably just going to be able to see those stars. But that's going to be good enough. Mark down your little stars in your star field and the date, time, and all the observing conditions, and you're good to go.
Hey, this is Ron Ladd.
Yeah, Ron.
There is a observing program of a subset of the Messier objects for binoculars in
Yeah.
the so they kind of pick out the ones that are suitable. That observing program already picks out the ones that are suitable for binoculars for you.
Good deal. I think that I'll try and get on their site and see if we can post those, because that would be good for planning, right? So if people wanted to binocular it up instead of telescope, they can kind of make a plan on it. But
They have it broken out on there, by size of binocular. There's two, anything less than 50 millimeter, anything greater than 50 millimeter.
no, that's nice.
They also have all the Messier objects broken down by season and how tough they are. Like they have an easy category, a tough, and then the toughest. But yeah, so it's kind of set up for you, so you can kind of tell what that is.
Yeah.
Is there a way to make this work with the camera? With a decent lens?
Yeah, that's how I started out. I actually have my astronomical rig up until last year, like I never had a scope, was a Nikon 7200 and 150 to 600 millimeter lens. And I have a little Ioptron Skyguider Pro that will allow me to polar align, but polar aligning and going after 110 objects isn't really the bet. Like it isn't really easy to maintain alignment. So Alt Az is fine. So if you're going, you just point and shoot, you're good, but you probably want a tripod. But yeah, definitely easy to do. Well, not necessarily easy, but what I kind of like about doing the photography thing, especially like with the camera, is that you can collect more light with the shutter than you can with your eyeball. And so you'll see some of the nebulosity come through from here if you can actually get a couple seconds of exposure on it. So yeah, you see a lot of colors and stuff come out. So, but yeah, or if you could get to one of these, an observatory, not going to get these from my Nikon or my 600 millimeter lens on it. Yeah, you can see some really cool stuff if you have time on an observatory. I don't know if anybody here has an observatory. Well, yeah, nice. Can you see that? Like, is that what it looks like?
With the picture, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
Telescope.
yeah. I imagine that would be pretty amazing to see. That's M1, the Crab Nebula. Through a telescope, again, it's kind of gray and fuzzy, depending on the quality of your scope. But again, not a comet. So you can clarify that. To find these things, you can use an app or a website like Stellarium. Stellarium is a really cool program. They also have a phone app. If you haven't used them, it's free. They also have a website now that you can do all of this through, so you don't have to download the program if you don't want it. If you are out in the middle of nowhere where traditionally the good skies are, make sure that you have downloaded something if you're going to use a computer to find things in the sky. But on there, you can type in, I want to find M1, the Crab Nebula, and it'll kind of highlight it, and you can zoom in to wherever it's at. And so you see the Taurus the Bull constellation. You can see it sitting right here. And then you can zoom in on it to get a little bit more. So you can start star hopping. And here you can see she has a identification pointed out here, and you can find the pattern of where it's at, and then you can kind of bounce around until you get right there. Okay. And so that's what you're going after. And when you're looking at a sky like this, right, like it's a tiny little speck in there. So again, it's a nice little faint fuzzy ball, but that's M1, right? And so you're off and running. Low power eyepiece. And so here's as we mentioned before, there's no rhyme or reason necessarily to the numbers. I'm not sure if he just went, all right, I like the Crab Nebula, this is M1. But as far as when we're hunting these things down, you want to get the things that are about ready to set as quick as possible, because those are going to disappear right off the bat. So you want a really good western horizon that as soon as dusk starts hitting, twilight starts hitting, you want to start setting that way. And the first one to go after is M74, and then I think I saw M77, if I remember right. But there's a couple of these galaxies that drop pretty quick after the sun sets. And so online you can find 77. You can find these Messier marathon logs that people have put together. And if people are interested, I can put a PDF together and put these on Google Groups. Yeah.
Great article in Sky Telescope this morning.
Oh, is there?
Breaks it down by which objects you should get during which hours.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'll have to look at that.
Sky Telescope magazine.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that. That's cool. But these logbooks are out there, so you can kind of chart where they're at, and it kind of tells you the list of what you're going to get and when to go after. So you first want to go for 74, and then 77, 31, 32. Now, this isn't hard, fast, and steady, right? But I think that in the true tradition of the Messier Marathon, if you're going for one of these down here, set it up like, all right, I'm going to find this one. Even if you find a little Messier over here, just remember where it's at, and then target this one. Make sure you get your observation, and then go to another one and go after it. Some of these are grouped together pretty dramatically, like the Virgo supercluster, which I think she has a slide of. This book here comes in pretty handy. This one is mine, the Messier Marathon book. If you want to take a look at it, I'll have it up here. But in here, it's the year-round Messier Marathon. So essentially, hey, what time of year is it? And it kind of tells you what's available in the night sky at those times. And so feel free to come up and take a look at it. I've also got the next step, finding and viewing Messier objects. So it's got another list of these things. And so I found that that's helpful. And then I think that this was mentioned the other day, nifty little planisphere. And on the back are all the Messier objects. And so it's essentially built to kind of find the Messier objects on here. Now, this is not one of those tiny little ones. Yeah.
It's celestial coordinates on it too.
Yep. Yeah. It's pretty handy. I had this on my Christmas list for a while, and it showed up from Santa this year. So awesome. But yeah, so there's a lot of things out there that help, that are essentially built around the Messier Marathon and finding these 110 objects. Again, it's kind of a bucket list thing. This is an image out of the field guide, the Messier year-round Messier Marathon book. This is M74. You can see how low it is in the sky. Then basically it's the twilight chart. So right as it's starting to come down, just for kicks on my little electronic scope, I have horrible horizons at my house, and I set it up to M74 right after twilight the other day, and it just looked at my house. Like, so it's really, starts to get low. So right around 7:30 is, probably a good time to catch it, because you have to catch the balance of when it's just dark enough that you can see stars, but not too far down. There are ways to get through here with star hopping. And so in the book as well, they kind of tell you which ones to, which stars to hop from. And so if you can find these constellations, you could start here, hop, 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 or start here. This is what I had to do, I guess, have to do with my camera, because I am not good enough with the night sky just yet. So I have to find myself a good star, take an image, because guess what? Digital film is nice and cheap. And so take an image, and I essentially plate solve right there by looking at my map and figure out where I'm at. And then I'll go through and I'll try and center in on whatever object I'm after. And so you can do this with binoculars as well. I imagine finding M74 with binoculars would be kind of tough as well. But star hopping is always fun. And again, it's a good way to get used to the night sky. Let's see. This is another image out of it. Gives if you can see the whole constellation, it shows where it's at in relation to it. And so you can get good coordinates from here. It also tells you where it's at in the charts. And then this is the page where it shows you what this thing would potentially look like in the star field. A lot of these drawings, they're either smudges or, a little bit showing a little bit of nebulosity. But it's really good because it shows you what it's like in the finder. You can't really see it, but then when you get the increased view from your telescope, there's a lot of good information up here too. It tells you the magnitude, the size, and everything. So like I said, these handbooks are really good. Now here's the challenge, as they go across the night sky. Let's see. So there's 74, there's 77, and then this is the group that you're trying to catch before it gets too far down, right? And then as you start working your way over, realize that the sky is coming across, right? And so eventually these ones over here, well, these ones here will be sort of up above you, right? So the goal is to start working here and then work your way back, because as you go through the night, they start kind of coming up across the sky. There's a lull in there. If I remember, it's right around 2 a.m. where you're waiting for more to come up because you've essentially caught up with the sky before these guys start coming up. But again, it's something to do, something different underneath the sky. There's lots of forums out there, lots of logbooks. There's even an app for it. But here you can see just ways to kind of comment and track your way to go through. I use one like this. This isn't mine. This is Theo's. See her initials up here, and this was just the logbook that she had from, I think that says 07. Yeah. So she's been doing this for a while. So that's why we tapped her to give the talk. So I'm sure her talk would be a little bit different than what I'm running through right now. Realize that you may not get it all the first try. That 110, it's pretty tricky. And also kind of getting used to star hopping and trying to find things. And like I said, you'll start getting more familiar with the sky. What I end up doing from my observation at my house, I can see north fairly well and east fairly well, which doesn't do me any good in Bellevue because that means I'm looking at Nashville. But once they get a little bit higher through the year or through the seasons, I pick out my Messier objects. And so I target the Messier objects as they come across. And so it gets me familiar with the sky, because you don't just have to look at these during March, right? Because these are up, through a good chunk of the year. But to get them all in one night, you kind of need the favorable conditions of March. But we give it a good go. Notice that Theo got, I think, probably 20 or 30 on this, because I think that's what she mentioned whenever I was talking to her about it. So there's, I think she has this talk set up to play, but I think it's on YouTube from the Memphis Astronomical Society. The Virgo cluster is a lot of little a lot of little galaxies together. And to be honest, you can get a number of them in one shot. But it's hard to tell which is which. Yeah. What numbers are they? Oh yeah, the Virgo locator chart. Yeah. Yeah, so these guys are really close and together. And if you're looking at it, you're gonna be like, all right, I just knocked off 30 of these Messier objects. But did you really? Right. So that's again like, did I see each one of them? Did I go through and start targeting these things? But in here, his talk that's posted on YouTube, he goes through and talks about how to identify them and how to kind of go through them and walk through them, because you can kind of see, I don't know how you can see, but it's the blue dots in this grouping. And so he works his way across and it kind of tells you some rhyme or reason to work through there. Oh, here's the supercluster here. You can see how they're all kind of gathered in these locations. I think I actually went after the supercluster with my dwarf, and it's just littered with these little these little fuzzy blobs. But if you love galaxies, it's a great place to look. But yeah, so it tells you kind of how to go through there, 58, 59, 60. And so in a field of view, right, you can catch a handful of these. Is that rain? Yeah. My windows are up. All right. There's an association for amateur astronomers. They put this log together. Notice there aren't any set numbers to go through and things like that. So again, if you're just starting out, right, take your time. If it takes you, 35, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour to find one, you found one, right? And you mark it down and go. Again, it's an adventure, be a competition with yourself or your friend, right? But, take your time, have fun, get used to the night sky. This is kind of what I was mentioning about a lot of these logs have places to draw. And so again, if you're an artist or you can draw little specks, then you can draw star clusters, right? But this at least gives you a memory of what you've seen and things like that. And some of these will have places where you can sign off. Somebody else can sign off on your log to kind of show that, yeah, he did see this night. So there's a lot of things that help out. I think astromax.com. So whatever site that is, we have a lot of good logbooks from there. This is the binocular marathon that everybody's talking about. Any 50 Messier objects, any size binoculars. They can go from the relatively small binoculars. I've got the big Celestron pair, which is kind of going to hurt the shoulders. Yeah.
Usually all the 16s and 10s.
I'm sure you could use whatever you want as long as you can get enough resolution out of them, right?
Yeah, I just don't like them. The ones that are put together, reflectors.
Oh, I don't know enough about them. Oh, gotcha. Yeah. I don't know. I'm sure that there's some. Yeah. Yeah, I think that she's actually got a picture of some binoculars here in a second. 7x35, 7x50, 10x50s. I think that's kind of what they're after. But here you can see the list of quote unquote easy Messier objects is 42, but they ask you to get 50 of them. So you have to get a couple hundred. Yeah.
One thing, when Ryan and Mead went out of business last year, High Point bought their inventory and they're having a big sale. And I just bought a 15x70 Resolux set, and they were $500, but I got them for $200.
Oh, nice.
If you go to High Point, click on the Mead things. I don't know how many various sizes of binoculars are available, but they're all 50, 60, 70% off.
Oh, wow.
And I was able to buy a tripod, the best tripod they sell, which is normally 150, and I paid 100. So I thought, hey, it would have been 650. I paid 300. Hey, wife, this is really
Yeah.
good. My birthday was in February. Get these things. Do what now?
What's the brand name?
Orion. And I did a lot of research on them, but it was 50 by 7. They might be out of them now, but you have to have a tripod.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, Ryan
They
went
went
out.
business, so High Point Scientific they bought all their inventory and they're putting it out for sale in batches. And I bought some filters for 2-inch mead filters and some other stuff, but just remember High Point Scientific, and if you don't have enough, you might get a good deal with some.
Yeah. I like saving money. So does my wife.
Yeah.
So like in the don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness phase, that helps out quite a bit. But don't tell my wife I just said that. These things can be addictive, right? So like say manage, you get all 110, maybe it takes you a couple days, give or take, right? But you get all 110. Don't worry. There's other lists out there. There's Caldwell lists, the Herschel 400. So like I said, there's 400 from, that's the one that Herschel put together with the big. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of these Herschel objects. Yeah, but the 400 are the it's a lot. Yeah. There's a lunar observing program. So notoriously when we try and do these Messier marathons, it's during a new moon because that brightness of the moon makes those fuzzy things so much harder to see. And so, as an astrophotographer, you kind of shake your fist at the moon when it's nice and bright, unless it's being eclipsed, then it's kind of cool, I guess. But there is a lunar program where you can, either look at it naked eye, binoculars, telescopes, and you can find various little objects on there. And, instead of cursing the moon, you can get more familiar with the moon. And then there's also the urban observing program through here. And so places like in Nashville, where we don't necessarily have the nicest sky out there, there are little challenges that you can do to find things that are a little bit more easy to find with those signposts and guidepost stars and constellations. So if you're a person that likes a challenge, likes a good certificate, likes a good pin, there's things for you. Right. So the Astronomical League hosts a lot of these things. I think this is another book that Theo has. I do not have this one. And if I do, I could not find it while I was running out of the house this morning. But again, there's tons of books and tons of resources out there. This is the gentleman that put this together. Like I said, binoculars, maybe. Large comet hunting binoculars. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I've seen a lot smaller telescope, right? So, but you got 2 eyepieces, right? Like binoculars, right? You put together a couple C11s, why not? Right. So, but I guess it's all on how you want to approach the adventure. I think Theo posted these. So this is probably from Pickett. If you can get really good clear skies and a good horizon, it makes this a little bit easier, even though there's going to be so many stars, you're going to be struggling to find some of those signpost stars. But finding nice, clear, good, dark skies is always helps this along. So that's why we try and go to Ron's place. Again, thank you, Ron, because he's got the darkest skies that we have access to relatively close. What's that? Yeah. Pickett still is certified. Yeah. And Theo does a lot with dark sky of Tennessee. And so if you're interested in kind of preserving the dark sky around us, definitely get in touch with her. I'm sure she'll be back shortly, or send her an email because she's jumped in with the Dark Sky Association and how they've kind of restructured to kind of do a statewide thing instead of just having little chapters. So, if you really like these kind of skies, that she's definitely trying to help protect them. And then she put these at the end of her slide. Bonus points just now. Up early, try to spot Venus as she swings out on the morning side of the sky at the end of the month. So that's coming up in a couple weeks. I guess it's at, when the marathon hits. So if you're up early or up late, either way, right? Like you're still up, maybe catch Venus. As I mentioned, right, kind of on point, ISS passes late in the month. So these are starting to come across, like I said, on that app, right? Like, and so now I'm excited because you can turn it on, like which ones you want to go through. So I can go through and scroll and say, I want this alert, this alert, this alert. I don't want the 5 a.m. alert. But most of these are happening in the 7:30 to 8:30 time point, which is right before bedtime, right? Maybe. And then Corona Borealis, still not gone supernova or nova yet. And now it is back in the evening sky. So this is the nova that's kind of periodic, and we've been sitting here waiting for it to go. There is also a challenge set up to that. So you're supposed to image it or view it before it explodes. And then after it explodes, you image and view it and get certification that you saw it and send it in. I think they'll send you a certificate. So again, if you like collecting challenges and certificates and things like that, that's one of those things. Let's see. Oh, here's our list of ISS passes. Up here, Blue Walker passes down here. But again, you can see coming up at the end of the month here, you can see how far they're at, the starting altitude, how high they actually get, right? So this is the first one that I was actually alerted to. The one I showed was on the 24th, but it doesn't get very high, right? So there's a lot of cool things. I'm pretty sure that these are from the Heavens Above website, because I know she links to those quite a bit.
If you have Skyguider Pro,
Mm-hmm.
it also has, it'll alert you to the passes.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And give you and show you where it is
Oh, cool.
in the sky.
Yeah, these apps. I don't know how people did this without smartphones. I really don't. Like, yeah,
A lot smarter than me.
yeah. No, not saying that you personally, but me definitely. Yeah. I'm not sure. What is Blue Walker? I will have to do research. Obviously, Theo knows more about this than I do.
Some other object.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously it comes through. Oh. Blue Walker 3 visible passes.
It's a very large, like, I don't know if it's a solar sail or just has a really large flat reflecting antenna.
Oh, that is very large. Well, apparently it's a new thing to kind of look for. Looks like it doesn't get as bright as ISS. But now we know it's there. Huh?
It's like it's delivering broadband.
Oh.
For like,
Oh. Well, another thing in the sky that's going to mess up my pictures. But anyways, so there's other things to find up there as well. All right. I think that's all that Theo had for us today. Thanks for sticking with me as I stumbled through a fun random slide deck. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Again, our next meeting is April 16th, same time, same place, online as well. Thanks for coming out tonight. Have a great night. And it's storming.
Tom, I have a question.
Yeah, go.
Mike Ryan.
Mike.
Would Theo be all right with putting her presentation out on the site, out on the Google site?
I'm sure she would. I'll send her a message, and I've got access to the slides, and I can just throw them up there too. So,
thank you.
Of course. Yeah.
As the president, if I give you my car keys and you need one to pull my car over.
I think that's a vice president job, Steve. Can you go get his car for? No. Yeah, that's gonna probably increase your rates a bit. Yeah. All right, good deal. Well, thank you everybody. Thank you everybody for showing up on Zoom. I'm gonna go ahead and shut down the meeting. Hopefully you get to catch everybody soon. Bye everybody.
Thank you, Tom.
Bye.
See you later.